Hello and welcome to the last of my end of the year, beginning of the year videos. These were slightly delayed for reasons that I'm not going to talk about again because I don't want to bore you, but this is basically a review of my reading in 2021 and a little bit of discussion about my plans for reading in 2022. So I have my reading journals here. So this was my 2021 journal, which I was not very good at keeping up with, and this is my 2022 reading journal, which I'm hoping to be better about keeping up with because I've made it super simple. I am going to give you a little bit of a flip through of this in this video as well, but first of all we will start with some of the statistics for the reads that I had in 2021. So I read 160 books in total, which I'm very happy about, and around 150-ish of those were audiobooks. So clearly the vast majority of my reads are audiobooks. In fact, the 10 that weren't, most of those were graphic novels, things like that it wouldn't really make sense to have an audiobook. I'm sure audiobooks exist for those kinds of books too, but I just didn't read them that way. So clearly quite a lot of books were read on audio, and I do plan to do a video talking about reading through audiobooks because clearly it's something that I am really passionate about. I really enjoy reading that way. And so if you have any questions that you want to ask me about that for that video, let me know down in the comments and I will get to those questions when I get to making that particular video. In terms of page count, I'm just looking that up now, I read 65,204 pages, which was an average of 408 pages per book. So I was reading generally towards the longer end books rather than shorter end books, and I think that number is up on previous years, but I could be wrong on that. That also gives me an average of 179 pages per day, and I do read every single day. Some days I read a lot more than others, but that's my overall average, is basically 180 pages a day roughly. That was based off of the page count on the story graph, by the way. Some of the other statistics, well, the main other statistic that I was monitoring was my reading of books by BIPOC authors, of which I read 50. So a little under a third of my reading was books by BIPOC authors, which isn't terrible. I think it's better than in previous years, so being mindful about it has helped a bit, but it's still not really enough. I would like that number, that percentage, to be a lot higher, so that's definitely something I want to continue working on in 2022. In terms of my goals for 2021, read 100 books, clearly I achieved that one. Spend time on my reads, I did and I didn't. I think on the whole, I read a lot of meh books in 2021. So I don't actually rate my reads anymore because I just don't like the process of rating books. It's just not enjoyable to me. So I just don't do it. But you know, I would say for the vast majority of people, they would describe the vast majority of my feelings towards the vast majority of the books that I read this last year to be between 2.5 and 3.5 stars. So fine, but not books that I super enjoyed, which is really sad. And that is the main thing that I want to work on in 2022, which I'll come back to in a moment. So I did and I didn't spend time with the books I was reading because sometimes I was reading a book that I wasn't really loving, and so I was just speeding through it to get it out of the way so I could move on to something else. which is also part of that goal that I have for this year. So I suppose I'll speak about that now. My main goals for 2022 are to get back to mood reading, which means that you probably won't be seeing any TBRs on this channel. I might do a few piles of possibility occasionally, but I'm not going to be doing TBRs because I really want to focus on reading what I'm in the mood to read when I'm in the mood to read it. And the second part of this is to DNF. I need to get better about DNFing because actually I've got to the point in my reading life, I guess, where I actually know myself better than I think I do, and I do usually know within a few pages whether or not I'm actually going to enjoy a book. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer, but often I know pretty quickly if the writing just isn't going to work for me, if I'm going to be, you know, engaged with the characters, whatever it might be, and I need to just cut it off if I'm not enjoying it. I need to just DNF it, because what I tended to do, and you know, I can still be guilty of this now, is push myself just in case it ends up getting better. Basically, it's FOMO, and I need to stop doing that because inevitably I get to the end and my feelings have not changed from what they were when I was 10 pages in, and then I've just spent a whole load of time rushing through a book, so I'm not spending time with the book, which is something that I wanted to remedy last year, but also I'm still wasting time reading this book that I'm not going to enjoy. So those are kind of the main goals I have for 2022, is to mood read and to DNF. And actually I have been doing that so far and it's been working really well. I've enjoyed, like, basically everything I've read this month I've enjoyed to some extent. Some of them I've really loved, some of them I've just really liked, and I have DNF'd I think 3 books. So for me that's quite a lot, and some of those I've DNF'd like really quickly, and some of them I've even DNF'd quite a way in, which for me is even less likely to happen. So that's that one. Use Storygraph instead of Goodreads. I did that. I actually last year in 2021 used both Storygraph and Goodreads. So Storygraph was the one that I kept up to date often, and then every sort of few months or so I would go in and update Goodreads. I'm not going to be doing that this year. I'm just going to use Storygraph. I'm not going to get rid of Goodreads because it's still sometimes useful for finding like publication dates and that kind of thing, but I'm not logging anything on Goodreads anymore. Read the books from sub-boxes. I kind of did okay on that. I did that reading challenge with Jessie from The Bookish Mum to read sub-box books, so I don't have as many. I've still got quite a few, but I think I'm okay-ish on that, but I definitely need to keep that in mind, especially because I'm going to be subscribing to the Fairy Loot adult book box, hopefully. Read more contemporary and romance. I did not do that, and I really should. I still want to do that because every time I do, I really enjoy myself. So that is remaining a goal for this year. I have already read a couple this month and it was great, so I need to keep on top of this one. Read more BIPOC, we've discussed that already. I want to continue improving on that, and start and continue series. So this is an interesting one because I didn't think that I had done very well with this, but I watched Abby from the channel Abby Salter's video where she reviewed not reviewed all of the series that she finished, but she went through and told us all of the series that she had finished in and caught up on in 2021, and so that made me curious, like, what is my number? And actually I finished 13 series in 2021, and I completed 2 rereads of series as well, so I guess I should probably go through those with you. I suppose that's probably a good thing to do, isn't it? Let's do that. So let us see. I read the entirety of the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty in 2021. I continued and caught up with the Watchmaker and the Duke series by Lauren James. I read the entirety of the Raybearer duology by Jordan Ifweko. I read the entirety of the Queens of Renthia series by Sarah Beth Durst. I reread the first era of Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I finished the Cassidy Blake series by Victoria Schwab, or V.E. Schwab. I finished the Crooked Mask duology. I think it's a duology. If it's not, then I caught up with the Twisted Tree series by Rachel Burge. Either way though, I'm done with that series. If there are more books, I'm not going to be reading them. I finished or caught up with the Fire and Thorns series by Ray Carson. I think that's the fourth and final book, but I don't know. I reread the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. I caught up with Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I finished, I didn't quite read the whole of this series, but I read books 2, 3 and 4 of the Ember and the Ashes quartet by Sabaa Tahir. I finished the Ash Princess trilogy by Laura Sebastian. I read the entirety of the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. I read the Nightlights duology, I think, by Lorena Alvarez Gomez. I don't think there's going to be another one of those. If there is, then I'm caught up, rather than having finished it. I caught up with the Inheritance Games trilogy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The third and final book comes out later this year, I think. I don't know when, so it wasn't in my anticipated releases video, but I am anticipating it. I finished the Serpent and Dove trilogy by Shelby Mehurin. I read the entirety of the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Kerry Maniscalco. I caught up with the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. I read the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series by Holly Jackson. I always do that. I read the Truly Devious trilogy by Maureen Johnson. I haven't read the spin-off book, but it's a spin-off book. It's not part of the series, so I kind of count that. I think that might be the last one, yeah. Oh no, I finished the Cursebreakers trilogy by Bridget Kemmerer as well, and I caught up with the Last Hours trilogy by Cassandra Clare, and that's it. So I did really well with series, actually, without really appreciating it, because I thought that I was doing really badly, but actually I wasn't, and I have decided to DNF some of the series that were on my list anyway, so I'm actually pretty good. Not too bad. I should probably do a proper video talking about series, but for now, that's fine. I had a top 21 TBR for 2021. Adaptation, I did not read. A Closed and Common Orbit, I did. This book is anti-racist, I did. Steelheart, surprisingly, still haven't read that. The Raven Boys, I did read. Touch of Power, I did read. Cinderella is Dead, I did read. I did not read Perfectly Preventable Deaths, The Rage of Dragons, Out Now, or The Swan Book. I did read The Demon King, and Empire of Dreams, and The Queen of Blood, and Kingdom of the Wicked, and Stalking Jack the Ripper, and Raybearer, and The Ravens, and The Inheritance Games, and I did not read The Unadoptables or Deep Light. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 out of those 21 I have read, which is more than half, so I'm happy with that. Interestingly enough, there is actually one book on here, The Rage of Dragons, which is now in my this TBR will self-destruct in 12 months pile. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. So I think that's everything in terms of reviewing 2021. And I've kind of spoken about my goals for 2022 already. So I guess I'll just show you very briefly what my 2022 book journal looks like. So this is my title page, which I'm pretty happy with. Then I have my physical TBR again, just written out like that. Definitely want to get that down. There's actually quite a lot of books on there that don't really call to me anymore, so I really might need to think about being a bit more brutal with my unhauling. This is kind of my series that I want to prioritise, so I'll read through that. And then this is my TBR will self-destruct list. I have a video for that, so I'll link it. So, Throne of Glass, I have 4 books left. Isles of Storm and Sorrow, 2 books. Grisha, 3. Shadow of the Fox, 2. Wayfarers, just 1. The only reason I haven't read that is because the last book isn't out in paperback yet. As soon as it is, I'll be reading it. We Set the Dark on Fire, 1. That's just a duology. Stormheart, 2. Wheel of Time, 10. Healer, 2. Blood and Ash, 3. Kingdom of the Wicked, 2. Realm of the Elderlings, 12. The Raven Cycle, 2. The Poppy War, 2. Keeper of the Lost Cities, 1, but that book isn't coming out until the end of the year. Mistborn, 1, same thing. The Founders Trilogy, I left that book out of my anticipated releases video. The 3rd book in the Founders Trilogy, Lachlan's, is coming out in March, I think. Definitely anticipating that one. It's the only one I have left. The Inheritance Games, ditto. 1 book coming out later in the year. Last Hours, I think the 3rd and final book is coming out this year. Daughter of Smoke and Bone, I have 1 book left and I'm planning on reading it this weekend. And The Blood of the Stars, I've already completed. I crossed that one off, so we're good. It's going okay. Then we have my Buddy Reads page, just so I can keep track of anything that I sign up for. For example, I am reading the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series with Vish and Kirsty and Joanna, so yeah. Then I have my top 22 for 2022 page. I do have a video for that also, and I am marking off underneath with dates the ones that I have read already. So I've actually already read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these 22, and 1 of them I've DNF'd. You'll have to wait for my wrap up to hear about that. And then each month looks like this. So I have one of these library cards, and I have the little library cards in, not library cards, you know what I mean, I don't know what these are called. So I have the dates that I finished the books written on there, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this blank page yet. Maybe I'll print off my favourites of the month and write a little something about them. I don't know, I'm trying to keep this low maintenance so I actually keep going with it. And then I'm just keeping track of some stats at the bottom here. So books read, pages read, BIPOC books, hauled books, DNFs, and books off of the top 22 list. And it literally is just like this. Every single spread for the rest of the year. So I'm not going to show you all of them because that would be boring. So that is it, I think. I don't think I have anything else to tell you. You're probably sick of listening to me at this point. I've been blathering for ages. If you have any questions, let me know. But that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks. Bye.